Hey, welcome back to Applying Yourself, a law school admissions podcast hosted by staff here at Washington University School of Law in St. Louis. My name is Anna Donovan, and I am the Communications Program Manager.
And my name is Naomi Stewart. I serve as a director in the admissions office.
Today, we are going back to the parts of the application and specifically talking about the personal statement. We are very fortunate to have another guest on joining us today, Marianne Clifford, the Assistant Dean for Admissions. Marianne, do you want to talk a little bit about why you're an expert and maybe at this point how many personal statements you've read over these years?
Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be
Absolutely.
here and to talk about personal statements. And goodness, how many personal statements would I have read over the years? I don't know if I can do that high-level math, but it's been 25,000.
At the very least.
At minimum.
Yes.
No, maybe, actually, you know what? Maybe make that closer to maybe like 80,000.
Wow.
now that I think about it.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
because there's,
The
thousands
of
every year.
applications we get. Yep.
And
Yes.
I have been in admissions for 23 years, and so yeah, you can do the math. So, but no, it's a great fun part, a central part of the application, and I'm really excited to talk about them today.
Yeah, and Marianne, you went to law school, so you also wrote a personal
Yes,
statement.
I did. Yes, I did, and I do remember thinking when I was putting together my application materials, the personal statement, that was. Honestly, along with the preparation for the LSAT, that was one of the more challenging parts of the application. So it definitely took some thought and consideration, and I would say it's a long process. It's not something you can just sit down and do very quickly in an afternoon. And so we'll talk about how to approach it and get that great personal statement.
Absolutely. And so before we get to a portion of this podcast that will be about topics for your personal statement, we're going to start with sort of the writing process for your personal statement. Chief among these being starting off with brainstorming. And this can even start before as you're studying for the LSAT, as you're even just thinking about law school, just writing down your thoughts about why this is coming up for you as a next step.
Yeah. And, kind of as it is such a central part and a big piece and things we really enjoy reading and learning more about our applicants in the personal statement, thinking of different topics, and tying this back to always looking at the law schools you're applying to, seeing if they might actually have a prompt or something that they are actually asking you to write about, whether it's completely open. Both are sometimes tough to start doing, but you want to make sure you're following those rules for each and every school you're looking to apply to.
Absolutely. And remembering, too, that creating and editing are two very, very different processes. So once you have an idea of what it is you need to be writing about, whether it's a prompt or it's completely open, starting the writing process and doing that over short bursts of time. It can maybe take several weeks, a couple of months, not making yourself too tired and really focusing on that creative process before you get to the editing process.
Yeah. So, let's just say you're getting to it and you're thinking about the personal statement. You're going to have one of these when you're applying to law school. Let's talk about topics. Marianne, when you are reading, one of these many, many, many thousands of personal statements, what do you like to see when you're reading or learn about the candidate?
Yeah, so I think of the personal statement as just, again, that way to get to know the candidate and what and see what they want to let the admissions committee or let the reader know about them. So I just like to see a well-written personal statement. It's wonderful if it can grab your attention fairly early on in your statement, maybe in the first paragraph. You're going to share some sort of experience you've had or some obstacle, maybe a challenge or a triumph that you've had. So again, when you're coming up with topics, you're reflecting over a lifetime of what you can think about and what really had an impact on your life or what changed you and so I just like to just learn as much as I can about the candidate through their written work product. But again, as Anna said, if a school doesn't give a prompt or a question they want answered, and quite honestly, I don't think many do. So it's pretty open-ended. You can write about any number of topics that you would like to share with the admissions committee.
Absolutely, and it's something that shows a thoughtfulness and really maybe a progression in a certain area, maybe a change of idea, it's some type of growth. Maybe it's through an experience or just a growth in your perspective. And sometimes the greatest successes, they do come after something that either is or feels like a big failure. It can be, either one. So it's important too that it is about you and your experience. Sometimes we do get really beautiful personal statements about maybe a family member or someone else. And while those are interesting, if it doesn't illuminate a lot about you, it may not fit the audience and the purpose of the statement.
Yeah. A question we get all the time, I'm going to throw this to you, Marianne. Do you think that the candidate needs to kind of state why they want to go to law school or why they're going to law school in the personal statement?
Yeah. So I would say, and I'll get to answer your question, but I would say probably most students or most personal statements I've read, they do kind of pull it all together at the end and maybe put down, why, and this is why I want to go to law school or why I want to go to your law school. And that's fine. I would say it's not necessary to do that. Usually the personal statement's part of a whole application, so we're reading everything, and we're going to get that sense of, oh yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense for this candidate why they want to go to law school. But of course, if you've met with an injustice or seen an injustice in your life, or maybe occasionally some family members will have gone through something that some dealing with the law. Well, of course, then that can lead to that, and this is why I want to go to law. But oftentimes it's not necessary. You could be writing about, again, whatever you want the committee to know about you. It's almost like an interview where you're, again, telling a story or giving an anecdote or several anecdotes about you and your personality, or again, what you want what the committee to know. So I would say it can answer the why law question, but it doesn't have to.
Doesn't have
Exactly.
to.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the way where you can show how strong of a candidate you're going to be for the specific law school or for law school in general, and really have that shine through, what you can bring to this class and this specific community, and pulling from strengths of, previous experiences, whether you're coming straight from undergrad or you have many years of work experience, and just how that ultimately is going to make you a great lawyer and are a great candidate for law school.
And I think you just hit on it. I think that's what the admissions committee and the admissions readers are taking away. What are you bringing to our law school from your personal statement and from the rest of your application? What can you bring to our community? What can you bring to the legal community?
Yeah, absolutely. We, at the end of our podcast, we try to do like a takeaway tip, and that kind of leads into what mine is. My tip is always to get someone else to read your personal statement, or when you're kind of at a draft that you're happy with. It can be anyone else, but making sure that takeaway is what you want it to be. Sometimes you get so zoned in on, this is my 36th version of this personal statement, and I've read it a million times, and my eyes are kind of cross-eyed. Making sure, if you just have someone else read it, that, what you are trying to get across to that staff member or that admissions community, committee member or committee, is what you are wanting, and any kind of red flags or anything that pops up you can address, before you're even submitting that with your application.
Absolutely. And a tip that comes up is also another side of having someone edit your personal statement or read your personal statement for what it is they take away is error-free writing. It's an important skill and a primary skill for attorneys. Error-free writing, it is something that's learned. Many of us have to work really hard at error-free writing. So to the extent that you can have this document be completely error-free, and do not forge or plagiarize.
Don't do that.
But certainly it will highlight that, maybe you don't have a particular skill around it, but you've arrived at this document. It shows that you can find a way to do that. And so it's incredibly important.
Yeah. Marianne, do you have a takeaway tip for people thinking about writing their personal statement?
Well, I would say, of course, be yourself.
Yes.
It is about you. It should be written professionally, but it can certainly be casual. It's, again, you want to make it as interesting as possible for the reader, but you're writing it really about yourself, for yourself, and of course for the admissions committee. So good luck.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, Marianne. We hope to have you back.
Yes, thank
you have
you.
expertise in so many areas. We will have you back on our podcast very soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.